Thank you.
I wouldn't let them start without you.
Thank you.
All right,
Good to see you.
let's call to order this meeting of a workshop on Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 3 p.m. We stand for the pledge to our flag. Dr. Miller, would you lead us, please?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get a roll call, please.
Counselor Baber?
Yeah.
Counselor Akon? Here. Counselor Newman?
Aye, here.
Counselor Proctor?
Present.
Mayor, you have a point.
Okay, we will remind everyone, these are non-action items. Be no input from the public. And I'm sure you've all looked at the items on the agenda. Let's try to, counters if we can, stay with the agenda and remembering it is a budget process. Where to go from here? This is the counselor's workshop meeting. Seemed like it was going to be a good idea.
Go ahead and read off item number A, B, C. So start with item A.
Okay. Item A is discussion on fiscal year 2025 budget process.
And Mary's on the phone.
To lead off with Mary. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, members of,
yes, we hear you.
okay, Mr. Mayor, members of council, before you is a suggested budget process so that I can get the budget entered and do a balance, or so you understand where we are in the balance with everybody's request for budget, and then get workshops set up so that we can try to get the budget balanced before it has to be submitted to GFA, the interim budget.
Okay, counselors, it's your meeting. You can take us wherever you want to go.
Mary, this is Jody. You had us down at the potential Wednesday, the 3rd, and I understand that's not a good day for Councilor Miller. So what's your second favorite day?
Okay, I didn't, okay, so I heard you say April 3rd, but I didn't hear the rest of that. I apologize.
Councilor Miller's not available on the 3rd. Do you have another day you like better?
Is there any way she could participate via phone or Zoom?
Well, Mary, I don't know for sure. I do work
Okay,
Tuesday.
okay.
Wednesday.
What about if we,
Wait,
go ahead?
that's April, right?
Yeah.
That's April.
Yes,
I
ma'am?
probably will work Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 9 to 5. Is there any other days
Okay.
that you would be able to?
Could we look at a Thursday, the day after, the
We
4th?
could do Thursday and Friday.
That would be better for me.
Well, no, because Friday, court has, the council chambers all day. The issue is timing because I need to get the figures that I've already sent out worksheets, they send them back. And then I have to take all that data and rekey it into the system so that I can get all those figures, presented to you, seeing how far we're in the red or if we're in the black. And I need time to data entry. So it's not like I get the worksheets and then I can have them ready the next week. It's a lot of data entry, so it takes me a couple of weeks to get them entered.
So we gotta go over.
I'm up, maybe
How
we could
many
do a
hours?
Monday and a Tuesday.
About the 1st and the 4th.
Okay. And the second day, so everyone is aware, is just in case we need it, in case we're so far off, we're so out of balance, we have to meet again to do some more trimming, to get that back into balance. So sometimes, like last year, we got so close to not being in the red that we only had to have the one workshop. And then when I presented the figures for their interim, we were in the black. So the second one is just in case. There have been times we've needed both.
Well, that's what I say. What about Monday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day? And you could send that to them. And then on Thursday, we could have the second one if we needed it.
That's fine.
That would
I'm
work.
okay. That's fine.
Work for
That
you,
would work a lot better.
Counselor Lacewell? WG, Counselor David? That'll work for all of us then, if the mayor.
Okay,
that
that works.
And they are 9 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the way I read the letter.
Okay, I did too. Okay.
This is,
Well, I know the first Monday, we never have, meetings. So that would sure
Correct.
work. And always Thursday, I'm available. I was working
Okay.
1 day a week, but now I'm gonna have to start 2 days a week, I think, so.
Thursday.
Okay.
Well, the 4th was okay. It was already on
Yeah.
there. Just the
So
3rd.
it's just the first and
It's just-
I'm just writing it down.
Well, thank you. That would sure help me out.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm here. I need to make it work for everyone. Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary, do you think, in your best guess, is it gonna go to 5 or to 3? PM?
In the afternoon, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I like to use the full day, so that opens up the next meeting if we do not have to have it.
Okay, so
Um,
I'm trying to just put it on my calendar, so 9 to
Just
5,
hang on just a minute. That Monday, the 1st is Easter Monday.
Easter Monday.
okay.
So you,
That's not a holiday, is it? I mean.
no,
No,
but we
I'd
don't
rather
take
not
off
laying
Easter
eggs
Monday.
on Monday. He's doing it on Sunday, I guess, but I'd say stay with it.
yes, and if we get done earlier,
Yep, we're good to go.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I was just checking these other dates you have in May and June and all that, but
Okay.
that's your information.
And
Because
Well, it's yours, because those are the deadlines that we have to have the information completed and submitted to Santa Fe.
And one thing, Mary, this is Councilor Proctor, on, what we discussed with, the judicial, side of the house with the funds, are you gonna be put on the next agenda so that we could take care of that?
So what you're asking me is the adjustments made to her budget, which have already been done,
Okay.
will be,
That's all I
will-
need to know. Okay, that's fine. I didn't know that you take care of it.
yeah, I told you when you called me earlier last week that I had done it. I even offered to send you the actual adjustments if you needed to see them.
Okay, remember it now. Okay, no, I did, I said I didn't need it. If you sent it, then that's fine.
Any other questions?
no, not from me.
Item B.
Okay, so having completed that, we'll go to item B, discussion on the personnel recommendation to hire Miguel Gallegos Flores for the position of street maintenance worker for the Public Works Department. Hello, Joey.
Mayor, members of council, this is, freshly out of high school, I think he's about 20, 19 or 20, has no experience, looking for a start. We'd like to hire him and move on with it. Get our department full before summer starts and we start, building.
Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's a start.
Is that higher than McDonald's?
Barely.
McDonald's 15.
Yeah, you pull the benefits and it's about. Can't be too picky. He's a very nice kid. The guys liked him. They interviewed well, so. That's what I'd like to do.
So if you already put him on the job, with
He
emergency
started.
hire,
He started today with Ron.
So Joy, I think you're a good teacher. Ronnie
Gotta
would
get him here
too.
and get people here because we got a lot of roads to build and stuff to do and we need the people. So this will actually fill the street department.
all
So
you start me at.
come back.
You have to volunteer.
Speaking of starting, when are they gonna get started on the museum?
It's still in design right now. The architects have finally sent the first bill, which was for their preliminary. And now they're actually starting to design how the electrical and stuff will work. The repairs to the museum, there's contractors been over there for the last month redoing the foundation, room, sheet rock, the bathrooms, they're over working on them now.
Okay, was it the last meeting? About where I had a problem with the telephone pole?
Yep.
The telephone pole that you didn't wanna move over there because we'd have to be in compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Did you
we
get
had somebody else be in compliance. Why ain't we in compliance?
That pole, well, we could move that pole if you wanna, if council would like to spend another $50,000, we can have it moved. Problem is it's the main power for the facility. So to remove it, you would have to remove it and put all new electrical from the building to the end of the parking lot. And then that means bringing the entire building now up to code, which could get extremely costly.
And we already are not on the agenda. We've deviated from the agenda, but those were good questions, but that's not a part of today's business.
Yeah, that's what's going on there.
That pole's one of my first broken ribs.
We tried, we really tried hard.
Two
to get
ribs.
it done.
I hit that pole.
And underground electrical is very expensive.
Yeah, but we just.
All right,
need to
are
do
there any more
something
questions
around-
on the personnel recommendations? Thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
Item C on the agenda is discussion on affirming a pay raise for all police department personnel after restructuring of the police department personnel, and that would be the deputy chief is gonna tell us what we need to know.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you, I have a proposition to, assist in getting police officers, actually all police department personnel raises for the department. It'd be a $4 an hour pay raise for police officers and 3 for, non-sworn civilian employees, which there are 3 of them right now. A while back, a couple of months back, I actually attempted to do a temporary pay raise based on a grant that we received. However, it was pointed out to us that through the DFA it was illegal to do that. So after talking to Mary about it, she suggested a permanent pay raise and how I should potentially go about doing it. She said it would require cutting a position and a half on the police department. And cutting a position and a half on the police department and using the money saved in those cuts to fund the raises. During that time, I asked Mary and later on Donna to figure out the math. Mary had informed me that I needed, even though we only have several months in the rest of this fiscal year, I still need, since it's a permanent raise, I still needed to figure it out for the whole year. Or potentially upcoming years, would be my guess. So the math came out to, I would have to have raised $145,277.50 to afford this raise for the officers and the civilian personnel at the rate that I'm asking them. And the reason I'm asking for that rate is because right now we are not competitive with any of their surrounding agencies with regard to pay. We're in some cases up to $6 to $8 an hour less. And this pay raise here doesn't get me, it gets me close to these people, not anywhere near. We'll still probably be $3 to $4-ish short of the surrounding agencies. However, it's close enough to where I'm not gonna lose personnel every couple of years. When I hire somebody, they work for me for a couple of years and then they move on to the bigger money. Because I'm actually competing now. That's actually the worst thing that I've dealt with in my entire career here at Ruidoso Downs is losing officers. I mean, I've lost. I couldn't count them all in two hands right now, how many I've lost over the years. Just because of pay. Pay is better elsewhere. And it kind of sucks, working as short as we are now. There was one point in time where Carol Scott, myself, and Harry Gray were patrolling the city of Ruidoso Downs. We were working 60, 70-hour work weeks to cover the city. I don't want to have to go through that again, which is why I'm asking for the pay raise now. And if it takes cutting a position and a half to do so, we're already down 3 positions right now. So I talked to my officers about it. We had a meeting on it. We talked about it at length. I let everybody share what they felt, and they were all on board that if it was what it took to lose a position and a half to fund this, that they were all for it. So what I did was I recommended in my packet here that I get rid of 1 police officer position and 1 CSO position, which puts us a little bit above the money mark that we need to fund this raise that I'm asking for. And I'll stand for any questions.
Okay,
Councilors?
Well, I just talked to Teresa, the director of planning and zoning, and asked her if she's, how that's working out with just 1 CSO. And she said you really need 2. And so
We
getting
do.
rid of that position, I don't think is a good place to get it.
Councilor Proctor?
okay, DC,
Yes, sir.
all what happened? No, I ran saying that we needed retained police officers. Not losing you, we haven't lost the chief, we haven't lost our evidence individual, nor our clerk, okay?
Right.
Let's put the 3 cops on pay immediately with a $4 an hour raise, figuring your budget for the coming year for the other people. And that way you don't have to cut nobody at the $4.
Mary told me at the time, the issue with that is if I do the $4 an hour and not have to cut anybody. The way she had explained it to me is and again, I'm not a finance person, I don't know.
Mhm.
She said I had to cut somebody to cover it for when the new budget does come. And I'm gonna have to allocate for those monies in the next fiscal year. So she says the only way I can do that now is by cutting the position in half. If I could do this without cutting a position,
Could I suggest,
ecstatic.
Counselor? Since we're in an area we're not sure, can we, if Mary's still there, let's find out right now from her.
Mary, you still on board?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what would happen if we just presented to the 3 officers that we have right now, not counting the chief? Or the other personnel line item, those other 4 people out and process the 3 police officers on duty now. And let them go with the $4 an hour pay raise, and then the DC come up with his budget to cover all the other vacant spots, and then a pay raise for the chief himself and the other personnel.
Where are you gonna get the money? Where are you gonna get the money to give those raises? You have to take money from somewhere to cover the cost that is not currently in the budget.
Okay, question. If we hire 3 new police officers tomorrow, what are we gonna get the money to put them on?
I have that money in the budget for those 3 new police officers.
Okay, but you're
There's
just,
also a grant for recruitment that would cover the cost of new officers.
that's just, and that's just
Correct.
one position. So what I'm getting at, if you've already got it in the budget at the present rate, and we raise it to $4 for the vacant spots in the budget this
Then
coming
you're gonna
year,
have to,
where are we going, that, the officer he's cutting now and no CSO, second CSO is not going to accommodate the pay raises for the other 4 officers you're gonna hire, if he can get them to come in.
okay, you've lost me. So
There are,
you're saying if he removes the position of the officer and the CSO, then he has the money to give the raises. Yes, he does. He can do that.
And it would be for all.
But you're telling me-
If I had filled them, if I were to, hypothetically, if I were to get 3 hired tomorrow, or even 2 hired tomorrow,
You wouldn't,
I would have the money with those cuts to
Give them a $4 an hour raise.
They wouldn't get a $4 an hour
Yeah.
raise right away because they'd have to finish their probation before they got that $4 an hour raise, and that's a 1-year probation. However, monetarily, we could do it if we did give them the $4 an hour raise. If we hired 2 certified officers tomorrow, the cut she's proposing that Donna did the math for is actually for all the positions.
Okay,
So
okay, I'm
I'm just trying to do
I
right.
understand what you're getting at, and what I'm getting at is that I think we're losing the police officers. We haven't lost the other 4 people in there yet. I think that's the ones we need to be concerned about right now. Get them the $4 an hour raise and then budget everything else. And that's what I'm looking at.
My request is that I.
so how are you proposing to get the money to do that?
Oh,
Go ahead, we didn't hear you, Mary.
How are you proposing to get the money to do that? It is not in the budget.
Unless they cut the position.
that's just what I was saying.
Yes.
You cut the positions and then we keep the
Okay.
3 police officers we've got right now, give them the $4 an hour raise. The other people are lined
Okay.
out until the new budget comes out, then we start working with them on the new budget.
Okay, that would work.
If I cut the position in half, like I've requested, then we have the money in the budget to give everybody a raise.
But the point that I'm getting at is we're not losing everybody. We're losing police officers.
I
That's
understand
why I
that,
want
but
the raise to go, to get them in here to get them going.
I'm not just looking out for police officers, I'm looking out for everybody.
Okay,
I am looking, don't worry, don't get me wrong, my priority is police officers, but I am looking out for all personnel on my police department. Who I believe are all underpaid.
you see,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at these 2 charts, like specifically the county chart against your chart. And if I'm looking at this right, an officer with 25, let's call that 2 years to 60 months. 25, 2 years to 5 years of experience. And you work for the county, they're making 27.65.
Mhm.
And you're suggesting that our guys are making 28, 29.
Mhm.
So
28.06 an hour. And the reason that is because the sheriff's department and Redoso PD have what they call step raises. They get incremental increases in pay, not for years on, they just get incremental step raises throughout to where it gets them into the 30s. We don't have that step. We get them to 28 and we're done. Minus the incentives like bilingual pay, the quarter an hour bilingual pay and things like
So
that.
the percent raises that even the city clerk got, 5% for 1 year and then 3% and then 2%.
That's cost of living. It's different. Cost of living raises are different.
It's not cost of living.
What it,
It's not.
Okay?
Time and service.
Time and service, but they get the same thing, but their tops after their cost of living. And I'll give you an example. Trejo was making 24.06 an hour, your base. He left here to go to the sheriff's department and instantly made $32.70 some cents base.
Based on his years of experience and training.
Right.
Merit.
Well, I know one officer that left us, told me he took a cut and pay to go to the sheriff's
Who's that?
department. Cody Conley.
That's absolute nonsense. Cody Conway did not take a cut and pay. He actually went up and paid. Yeah, with Cody Conway, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt. He does a lot of,
It's not mentioned anything.
Counselor Proctor, do you have something?
Yes, just on this, with the pay, what does it cost to send a police officer non-qualified to the academy?
oh, it's been a while since I've looked at it. I want to say around,
55, $6,000?
it's up there. It's more than 3,000, but, because of the training plus all the,
Right,
they have to be not only outfitted with their police gear, they actually have to be outfitted with training gear that's academy approved, which is another astronomical amount of money, just because they have to have black BDUs, black shirts, it just, to be uniform at the academy, which they can't wear here later. It's just for the academy. So it's usual cost is, I'd say upwards of $5,000-6,000 just to get them to the academy.
okay, so when an officer comes here, it's fairly easy for him to get on here.
Mhm.
For us to get him, and then we send him to the course. He comes back, spends 3 months, 5 months, and then he decides to go.
Mhm.
And we have a retention, can't make him sign a contract, I understand that,
Right.
but a retention form to where if he stays 2 years, costs us $6,000 to put through the academy,
Right.
and he leaves at the end of 2 years, then he owes us $3,000.
Right, that, I'm actually working on that as well myself, because that was actually brought up by some other folks, before,
The only reason I'm saying that, Dave, I don't mean to cut you short, I know you're working on it, because we talked about this before.
Right. Mhm.
Is that I've talked to 3 other entities, Cloudcroft,
Mhm.
Vaughn, not Vaughn, I'm sorry, Portales,
Mhm.
and, what's that, Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And spoke with those 3, and they just started that.
Right.
And they don't
It's our
Waiting for him.
mission to do the same.
Right,
Right, so I just have to draw it up, I just have to have the figures and draw it up, that way I can present it to you all as far as being able to sign off on it. Essentially, it's a contract that says, hey, if you leave before, I'd like to make it a 3-year mark, but before a 3-year mark, you have to pay back X amount of dollars, for the training you received and so on and so on and so on. And that way, if they do choose to leave, it might change their mind on leaving if they got to drop $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
the 4-year mark, that's when he get his other incentives. I mean,
Right,
for longevity, that put him up a little higher. That could work his mind saying, hey, why do I want to leave here for 85 cents or $1 more an hour?
right,
Or more BS. The larger departments, the more BS you got.
right.
And we're never gonna be able to compete with three of those of the sheriff's office, but we can make a fair living wage.
Right, I'm actually right on the very low end of what call it their median level is. I'm right there. And the reason I want to put it up that high, the $4 an hour raise and with the officers level to make it 28.06 an hour, is because we don't have those big steps like the other agencies do. It's, to where they get them into the 30s, things like that. I mean, once they hit 28.06 an hour, they're at 28.06 an hour minus their incentive pays.
Well, that's, I get where you're coming from on that, but that's, that. I think if we went 4 years think that'd be a good number, especially if the cost with the uniforms and them going to the academy is
I'm
6,000.
totally open to the years. That'd be,
That's,
I've got,
well, one of them does it 5 years.
right,
That's Clapcroft.
right.
And it makes you think before you start yanking three.
I completely agree with that. I would actually love to do that, and I'm working on it now, and I'm just, right now, I'm just working on the figures, how much the academy would cost, what the uniform costs are for the academy, all the billing for like our, the psych eval, the medical screenings, you know, the things
You
that
don't furnish them a vehicle to go up there in, do you? Or do you?
to
Do we
the,
furnish them
to
a
the police
vehicle to
academy.
go up to the
Yes,
academy?
yeah, they do. They get
They have to
a,
take their own vehicle up, I mean, a police vehicle.
they take a police vehicle up,
Right.
yeah,
So you gotta figure in the wear and tear on the vehicle and the fuel,
potentially. Yeah.
because they gotta take them cars. Now, do they drive their cars, do well, we don't do pit maneuvers here.
No. And any training vehicles, it's provided by the state.
Okay. If you need some help working on that, I'd be more glad to help you on that.
Thank you. I will.
You might want to throw rocks at me later on, but, you know.
No, that's a good idea. I'm already getting in the works on that one. I'm just trying to figure out the monetary part of it.
I had a question. The 3 vacant positions, will they be filled? So even if we go.
If you all vote and you get rid of a position and a half, i.e. the one position and one police position, one CSO, that will be actually officially down to 7 positions that I can fill up to at that point in time. That's
And
it.
still at the $4 for the certified.
So that would give us, between you and the chief, that would give us 9 police officers.
No. 7 counting he and I. This is, right now, we're 8, counting the chief and myself. I wish we were at 12 or 15, but
We used to have about 10 or 12 cops here a long time ago.
yeah.
Well, unusual.
We also got a town of 2,700 people and a budget of $1 million for police department. Somebody's got to think about that somewhere.
Start playing the lotto.
Well, we're unique here because we have a small town and a major state highway.
And everybody's not gonna come here to be a cop, you know?
No.
Hiring police officers right now it's very tough for everybody, especially those who are on the lower end of the pay scale like we are. It's just unfortunate times that we live in,
They make the same amount at
you know.
McDonald's. some of
You
them
know,
like
at
that.
one time, they tried to give our police department over to the sheriff's department or the state police department for them to put an auxiliary office here and work out of here.
Mhm.
And I think that probably cost us more than it would be to have our own police officer. I don't want to get rid of our courts, or our own police department.
Right,
So
right.
we need.
But like I said, it's very tough. And like I said, I've lived through this, I've worked this on this department, and it's something that I am not gonna do again. If I get down to 4 and 3 officers counting me and the chief, I'm done, I'm out, because it's not worth the headache when I'm trying to build something, I'm trying to provide a need to build something. When, you know, and making us work, you know, 65, 70-hour weeks to cover the city, that was tough.
What's a shift consist of now? 10 hours, 12?
It's 12-hour days,
Too long.
because of our current staffing levels. I'm doing one of the deputy positions. Officer Becker is my opposite days positions. So when I'm off, he's on, vice versa. And then the nighttime guys are Officer Hanshaw, who works my end of the week, and Officer Malone, who works Officer Becker's end of the week. So right now I'm pulling triple duty. I'm doing, you know, admin, patrol. You know,
I'd like to mention also Counselor Baber. His observation is one that has plagued us for years, and rightly so. The village, we're a city, how they became a village, I don't know. We've got a village that's got, say, 10,000 people. We're sitting here with 2,800 approximate. So that's what we're competing with. It's a much bigger municipality that joins us.
Right.
Then you have the county, which has more money because they have the entire county. So
Right.
that's another, and I just thought of another in Counselor. Then you got the state police, we're competing with the state of New Mexico.
Well, they just gave them the biggest bump in
15
history
years, I think, wasn't it?
because they want them to be the top.
Redoso is actually, I think, from what I understand, they're actually working on the logistics to increase their officers' pay to be even more. I think their ultimate goal is to be even higher paid than the sheriffs, but that's really them. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep this competitive so I can actually keep officers here. And right now, I've got 2 applications out. One's a certified deputy for Lincoln County now. She's not happy at Lincoln County. So she's thinking of coming over here, but she's not solid yet on the choice. And then I have another one, Judge Bryant's middle son, Aaron. He has an application, and that's my only 2 applications out right now. And he's also applying for the Redoso, so my guess is he's gonna go there for money.
So if he comes here first, we send the academy, we already have this retention program started.
Correct.
And he's gonna have to come up with some, now how would that work? Would they have to pay that before they leave?
The
The
If
retention,
they leave whatever monetary
right, is
amount they
left,
owe, yeah, before they leave.
they'd have to pay that, wouldn't they?
And it would, and my guess would be, and this is purely a guess, would be docked from their last paycheck, you know, and then whatever else that they paid the difference, you
And
know.
if they leave and they're owing $3,000, that's gonna be a hell of a dock.
Yeah,
Well, no, I talked to somebody in January up in Santa Fe, a police department, and they were losing an officer and he had to pay $4,000 to leave.
Mhm.
And he was happy to pay the 4,000 to leave because of where he was going.
If we got it saving stuff like that, but
there's some agencies that will give, do give monster signing bonuses, and they'll use that signing bonus to pay that fee that their deportation
right,
fine or whatever you want to call it.
we don't have a sign-on
Yeah.
bonus, do we?
But some guys don't care. Some, it just depends on the person, I guess. I'd like to have, I just like to keep somebody here without, I've watched more than 10 walk out the door and 80% of them are for pay.
Well, counselors, historically, part of the problem has been young officers, because we pay so much of their benefits. This was something that drew officers here. We found out from the young officers, though, they don't seem to care about retirement. Some of us that are getting on up there in age, we realize how important it is. That's not that important to them. They're just starting out. Some of them have families, they're young. They just want to know how much money is going in their pocket every month. They don't consider the retirement and some things that we do offer. So that's been a problem in the past.
At the same time, that's the same problem in where if they want to be a police officer here or Ruidoso or the county, they're still going to be paying those benefits. So, DC, do I understand that if we eliminate just one position, not the CSO,
Mhm.
just eliminate one position, we could afford to give these 3 officers at the bottom of the pay scale a raise? And then during budget talks, then talk about adding more? Councilor Proctor, did I understand you to say it that way?
Yeah, but what DC's getting at, that he's figured in the loss of that $147,000. If he drops a half a person, I don't see how you can drop a half a person. I guess you gotta assist, you can, but they figured in you're losing 2 people. Losing the second CSO and you're losing the police officer.
But didn't you say that if we just do the 3 right now, we could talk about in budget?
He's already got everything implemented in the budget for the upcoming year. Everybody to start out with that pay raise implemented in there. By losing those 2 people now,
Correct.
And so and you're saying that the CS.
Right, what it is if this gets enacted, I lose the position and half of the position in the CSO position, then come budget negotiation time, then I'm down to 7 police officers, 1 CSO, and I do have the money to continue everybody getting the raise in perpetuity.
Can we,
Mr. Mayor, members of council,
Yes,
he's correct on that. But if he's only gonna give the 3 lower tiered officers the $3 or $4 an hour, he wouldn't have to lose 2 positions. I think 1 position. And he could choose whichever position, the CSO position or the police officer, because I think there's enough money in there to cover the $4 raise. In perpetuity, just like he said, he wouldn't have to lose both if he only does what Counselor Proctor suggested. I also want to state that once we set up the new pay scale, the 5%, 2%, and 3% raises never top out. Once you get to the 5%, 2%, and 3%, every 3 years, you get another 5% raise. So it's untrue that you cap out and become stagnant. So I wanted to make sure everyone understands that.
Okay, where do we get the money from 3 years from now to do those cap outs? If he hires 2 police officers and cap out next 3 years?
Because we have to
Okay,
use those percentages into the budget when we prepare the budget.
okay.
So anybody that's in a 2%, 3% range, or they're on their 3rd year going to have a 5%, that is all part of figuring out salaries when we do the budget.
Okay, that'll work. Joy, gonna have to save money, buy some shovels, son.
I'm gonna cut a position and do the exact same thing. I've already turned it in too for y'all. We gotta get these salaries up or you're not gonna keep anybody.
That's, like I said, I've talked to all my officers and they're willing to give up the positions to include Jim, CSO,
Can you? All right,
to afford their raise.
okay, I would recommend that we look at the 3 officers now. And then you wouldn't, and you could choose whether you wanted an officer back. I'd choose an officer on the streets back.
Okay,
That's
I'm
If-
sorry,
If I had to
Counselor.
choose, I don't think a CSO position would cover it monetarily.
no. And Jeanette, can
Okay,
just.
Counselor,
She's wanting to go. I'm sorry.
Counselor,
Go
can
ahead, Mary.
you hear me? Thank you. So let's talk about that for a minute. What I hear you saying is, okay, let's cut this position and then let's turn around and add it back in. Okay, so this is where we go into a circle with the FA's requirement for temporary raises. So let's pretend you guys say that, and then we get to budget time and there's not enough money for all these raises and the position back, then what? Then the first thing when we can't meet those budget requirements, salaries, positions are the first things that go off that are cut.
Mary,
So, yes, sir.
They're not talking about getting positions back like you're thinking. They're saying. They
Okay,
would rather.
I thought I heard him say that. I'm sorry.
They would rather do.
I thought I heard him say getting the position back in July.
No, cut 1 position only. And to.
Correct.
award the officers, the 3 officers.
Is it 3 officers right now at $4.
Sergeant and 2 officers, the $4 an hour pay raise.
You see how's that working?
So what 4 officers would that be?
Okay, Mary, what I suggested is that if he dropped 1 position rather than 2, because you can't cut a person in 2, okay?
No, I
All right,
understand.
so-
It was either 1 or
With the
2.
monetary value of the CSO, cutting that position offset for him hiring the police officer that he dropped.
Did anybody understand? I didn't understand your question.
He's
I don't
asking if the
understand what
CSO
you
position
said.
would cover the $4 hour raises for the three.
Let's let the finance director respond to Counselor Proctor's questions, or he's trying to find out.
I'm sorry,
something.
I did not understand your question.
Okay, Mary, if we take, we're losing two people, one CSO position, one police officer position. Drop the CSO.
Well, I disagree with that. I think we need to talk to Jeanette. She's.
Counselor. If you don't mind, you get the floor. We've got a counselor that's trying to explain something and you interrupt too often.
If we drop the CSO and hire the police officer, would the dropping of the CSO's wages for the year offset hiring the police officer at the $4 an hour raise?
No, because I believe, and deputy could correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know how much each person makes, but I believe the CSO starts at $17 an hour. So if you gave 4 officers a $4 raise at $16 an hour, that leaves you $1 left an hour. So, but you would have the position of the police, that position would remain open. So he wouldn't lose the position. So if he did fill it, he would be able to fill it. Now, he does have money in recruitment to compensate, and correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy. What can that money for recruitment be used for?
It could be used for anything for a new hire, police officer, salary, FICA, workers' comp, med, all that.
All right.
Okay.
Counselor Proctor, did this get yours answered?
Yep.
Counselor Lacewell.
Thank you. As I said at the very beginning of this, I've talked to our planning and zoning director earlier last week, and she says we need a second compliance officer. So I wish we'd stop talking about dropping that position because she needs it.
You're talking about the CSO.
Yeah,
See, I've been worried in this conversation because our animal control is slipping back to where it was when I was mayor, you were a private citizen. You were the first one when I began campaigning for this. Do you recall?
you offered me that job.
No,
That's right. You
But
did.
you-
Animal control.
but we could, but you had a complaint and said there's one other citizen, but you were up front. You said, you've got to carry sticks if we're gonna go walking in the neighborhood. Remember that conversation? I said, I'm gonna try to get something done about that.
Right, and so,
And we're kind of slipping back. I'm noticing more dogs running around. Are you?
yeah, I am. I can't-
So-
yeah.
We
Well,
give up that position.
There are several reasons for that, actually. It's not that Jim isn't trying to take them in, he's actually giving people more breaks because of the cost of the monetary cost that the shelter charges us to bring in certain amounts of dogs. We went from 300 dogs that we took in 2-3 years back down to less than 200 because the shelter is charging us anything over 180, they're almost doubling their fees. So we're intentionally trying to give folks breaks with regard to just because, so it doesn't cost us so much on the big end with the shelter, because the shelter is charging an astronomical amount for each dog that you were here to tell you.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
we're pretty much right at about 180 dogs right now for the fiscal year, and we gotta stay under
We'll
200.
come back to Councilor Lacewell's concerns. Jim Marion's been doing the job of 2 people for a long time. now.
You're correct.
Literally, that guy is one of the hardest working employees that we have.
I'll agree with you.
And so he's been doing the work of 2 people for a long time. Remember, that's part of his job is animal control. Keeping up then with the other part of it is, and those are difficult subjects to deal with. People do not want to have criticism about their darling dog.
Mhm.
They will get you before even if you get after their kids almost. And the other thing is enforcing rules when people are used to just building whatever they want to whenever. That's been done so long. He's got a really tough job dealing with that part of the public.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to cut any position at all. I mean, this is just an option that was presented to me that I essentially had to do based on finances. If you were to give me a choice though, between choosing a CSO and a police officer, I'm going to choose a police officer every time.
But you have 3 vacancies for police officers.
That's right. And we're working extremely short. So, and that's just because nobody wants to apply at this point in time. Again, if I were to you put a gun to my head and said, here, you need to choose one position that stays on your department, I tell you, police officer 11 times out of 10.
Counselor Miller?
Well, I just know I've had more calls lately, the last 6 months about trash in the neighborhoods. And, we need to keep two. I believe you're right there. And
Oh, I
I
agree.
just wonder, did it work better when they were under planning and zoning or under the police department?
No,
Because we changed.
Under the police department, because we're in charge of the laws and the fines and things of that nature. It's just, like you said, the entire department is overworked, to include Jim,
Yeah,
to include me, to include the officers.
well,
Everybody's overworked on this, just because we are so short-staffed.
the
It's just-
community officers always used to be under planning and zoning. And then we changed it and they went under the police department. I just wonder if maybe they could share one. One could go under planning and zoning and one under the police.
That's an
Somebody's
option,
taking
but
permits and stuff.
Yeah,
Problem is P and Z, code, they couldn't issue tickets.
no,
right. they
That's
didn't
why
have-
they had to move them to the police department because P and Z doesn't have that power.
well, they were under there forever
Well,
before.
They
I
didn't,
remember.
they had to have an officer issue the tickets because I had to do the same thing.
Okay, I didn't understand for sure all the reasons why it changed.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Miller.
And-
Counselor Proctor, you have the floor.
I remember years ago, we had one animal control. For 14 years, we had a woman that was animal control and she busted everybody's buns when it come to writing tickets, picking things up. And I'm a firm believer, do your job will take care of you. If you don't do your job's still gonna take care of you. It's gonna put you down the road.
Right.
So there's more than, I've driven around since I got this position. And I've seen places that they need some help. Persuasion, I guess, the kind of help as they needed to get things done. And some of the people I know, and I've asked them, have you had any complaints the way your yard looks? No, why? I just drove on, just kept on going.
Yeah, we're,
So what I'm getting at is that you got 3 cops, yourself and the chief, okay, where you're supposed to have 7 or 8 right now. Well, no, really just 7 because you're cutting that position. And you guys are getting it done where you're supposed to have extra people. And for so many years, we only had one person doing it. Now, you can't catch all the dogs. You can't catch all the dirty yards. And the ones that we seem mostly to be getting on is their elderly people that can't afford to have somebody do it. And they do the best they can with cleaning it up. So when you go and start picking on the elderly people, you get my attention real quick. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying cut them any slack. But this is where we could talk with the judicial department. And how it worked, I don't know. They could give them community service. They could go help clean these elderly people's yards up. And we don't have, if they don't do it, they work under the CSO as far as this yard, and this yard needs to be cleaned up. You work it these days or this Saturday, you clean this yard up. Next Saturday, this guy does that one. This is just a suggestion.
it's a good idea.
It'll work.
Yeah, if the judge is willing to give the community service. that's-
She has, well, she has. She has.
Counselor Miller.
Yeah, we have the judge on the beautification committee now, and I've done this for years, even for a magistrate judge.
Mhm.
I had one guy that was introduced to me to help us in the yard, in the garden, in the park. And it worked out beautifully. And on the cleanup days, Judge Plant will send people over to me already.
Mhm.
Most of them have to be supervised, but it's okay. Some don't, some you can trust. The
Yeah, they can-
adults, the juveniles are always supervised.
We can work it out to where they can assign them to the police department to do their community service, and Jim or me or whoever's here can say, hey, your job is to go clean up all the trash on block A and B.
And it's something they take pride in pretty soon too, their town and.
Right.
Doing a
That's
job.
Something that can happen.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
We all keep running around this hog and everything, but it boils down to, we got money for 3 people. We can help you out with the 3, but the other part is gonna be rough.
Well, right,
And
the
I would-
way I'm proposing it, we got money for every position.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing it that way is and to where everybody would have that raise in perpetuity is when a new CSO does get hired. Or when a new police officer does get hired, another 2 police officers get hired. Once they finish their probationary period, they're gonna get that pay raise in perpetuity. That's how it's written now. To break it up and say, hey, give 3 guys $4 an hour and make us come back, that's an option. I'm not saying it's not.
Well,
This to me is this is me talking to my people. And my people telling me what they would like to, how they would like to do it, because I gave them all the options. And this is what they've asked me to present,
I hear
which
you.
I'm presenting. And I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm not demanding anything at all. I'm just telling you what's needed because we're losing. Again, it sucks to just watch officers walk out the door. Like in the past, not even the past year, I've lost 3. I mean, I lost Ward, I lost Trejo, and I lost.
Oh, I know. I mean, people that's from here, we watch them every year,
You know,
you know,
it's just to get.
but this ain't this.
Kicked in the nuts.
This,
like that, it's just.
but everybody don't, this ain't for everybody, Redosa Downs, you know? They just,
I understand,
You know.
but, you have to make the city appealing to not just to the people that work here, but to the applicant as well. For all positions, for any of them.
well, I've been here since the 70s and it ain't changed one bit here.
Right. So, that's my proposal here. I would like to see the raise across the board with the presentation that I did. That way, every officer or every police department personnel gets their raise in perpetuity, and all future hirees up to my max positions get that raise in perpetuity. That's just the way.
I hear you, I hear you. I mean,
Counselor Lacewell.
So I have a kind of a question. So at the top list shows that we have 3 vacant officer positions and 1 vacant community service / animal control.
Mhm.
And the bottom list with the new adjusted raises still show 3 vacant officer positions and 1 vacant community position. And so if you were gonna cut it, wouldn't one of those be missing?
No, it should, I think. I'm not the math person. Donna and Mary did do the math. I just get the numbers and present what I was presented. I think with the costs of the wages for everybody, the FICA, the workers' comp, the medical, all the stuff that you have to include to give somebody a raise. The math, to, if we cut a position and a position, CSO and a police officer, in order for us to afford that, give everybody the raise that we're seeking, it would cost us $145,277.50 a year in perpetuity. Well,
and it'll cost,
minus inflation and all the future politics and things of that nature, but
Counselor?
And it'll cost the city $1,156,362.46.
is that what our salary budget is now?
That's the new one that you're proposing. But
Yeah,
that's
that's-
still with 3 officers, like 3
It's
of
still-
both.
That figure is either with 8 officers and 2 CSOs without a raise, or 7 officers and 1 CSO with the raise. It's the same monies.
Mayor,
Yes,
I still think we're missing 3 officers. And we don't have anybody looking at it. And so if we move one of those to make these pay changes and get lucky and hire 2. And
But
not,
they wouldn't get the raise. If you're only gonna kill 1 position to get 3 officers a pay raise, the new officers that you hire on will not get that pay raise.
I think the
Counselors,
chart maybe.
yes, Mary?
I wanted to, jump in with what the deputy said. That would be true if he didn't have the recruitment, grant. He has that recruitment grant that would cover that wage increase should he hire officers now.
For 1 year. My first year, which is almost up, is $150,000 a year, which is a good amount. But next year, it's only 75,000. The year after that, it's only 32,000.
Correct, but you would still have money to cover the cost of that now.
If I hired them within this fiscal year, yes, I agree with you.
Okay,
You have advertisements out?
Yes, I'd be everywhere. I've got, a website or like a law enforcement hiring website, the nationwide website that we advertise on. I also have, our Facebook, our social media, and word of mouth.
If I could interject, we've had 2 comments by counselors that I'd like to make a comment on. It's pertinent. Thank you very much. It's a compliment to my wife. She was animal control officer, but still get compliments on how good it was. From the public will compliment her. And yes, she did the job. Difficult because there again, not everybody is gonna welcome you that, the animal control is tough. It's tough. So thank you. I will convey that to her. The other thing, Counselor Baber had, kind of to allude to that. I told her, I said, why didn't you go back to Ruidoso? They were gonna give you the farm no matter what you wanted. She was popular with the then, police chief, Wolfgang Board. They said, if you'll come back, we'll do anything that you ask for in addition to a big raise. She told me that this is a better place to work. She said that, she wasn't gonna go back because, I need to talk to her about this. She said if the politics were worse in the village.
So that's
So,
what every one of my officers says that has left here and went other places. They say the politics and their working conditions there are substandard compared to what they had here. They actually liked working here better. They just couldn't afford working here.
okay, well, thank you. Yes, it's a good place to be. We've had a lot of language here. If we could get that condensed, I think, primarily between y'all and are we on the same page? Because where I'm going with this, if we can get a verbal description of what we're wanting, I would indicate to the city clerk to put this on the agenda for the next council meeting, because I'm hearing that this is kind of important to get this done now.
Mr. Mayor, And if you have any questions on the salary chart, Donna's here to answer any questions. She's the one that created it.
Who is Donna?
Ah, Donna,
Donna?
the HR,
HR.
Oh,
the very quiet lady that is a tremendous employee.
I guess I have a question for you, Donna. It shows 3 vacancies right now on the top chart, which is what we have right now, 3 vacancies and then 1 as a CSO. And then the next chart still shows 3 vacancies and the CSO. It just more money. Was one of the positions supposed to be eliminated for the bottom chart?
I don't know. I have it on my computer.
Henry, you wanna look at this one, Don?
I have it on my computer. Thank you.
No, I just remember that.
That's this one.
Yeah. Darn elm trees.
You're right. I think one of them should be taken off. If they remove it. We can remove them. Yeah. Which would be.
I created it. So it's the removal of the 1 position on the bottom.
We need to take 1 position on that bottom list.
That's on this bottom part. Yeah.
So, the one position,
The vacant one.
Right. right, I remember seeing that. I said the same thing. I just didn't bring it up. Jody. It's here. I think DC was saying that he would rather pick a police officer
Yes.
over the CSO. And, excuse me. And then, okay, if we don't really get the other police officer, so they're supposed to be, something can be worked out, and that's where they put it.
Just to bring.
Down there and got
So we've lost more police officers than we have anybody else.
They might come back.
You don't have it.
I,
Do you want to?
With that $4.
I would
Yes, yes, Counselor.
I would recommend that we move, that we move on that, 3 police officers now. And him keep 1 position. The choice is his, whether it be CSO or police officer. That's what Mary was just saying. He could do that if we just kept the 2 officers now. And then with the other 2 people that they're working with, the chief and the DC himself, oh, he just got a grant too. I'm telling on you. Anyway, I'm not gonna hold that against you, DC. Anyway, that would give them time to work their budget and put in the planning for this upcoming year.
well, that's one thing. I was told by finance director that we're not allowed to mess with any of the salary part of the budget. That I'm not allowed, when we do our budget stuff to turn into Mary, I'm not allowed to touch any part of the salary stuff.
So if you do it
She
now,
just got through saying it though.
Counselor, okay, counselors, may I
Yes,
respond?
I'm sorry.
So he's not allowed to touch it on the worksheet, but he can submit in writing what he wants to do. And that could be turned in during the budget. And you guys can say yay or nay during the discussion, depending on how the budget is, whether how in the red it is or where, if it's in the black. He can put in writing, I want blah, blah, blah. And then I take that information and in the spreadsheet, you'll see where I've added the request in. It doesn't mean that that's an automatic. It means if we're really in the red, that's something you guys have to work on to get us back into the black. But they're not allowed to go in and do the calculations for the salaries because that's all done through Donna and HR. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. You did stipulate, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
You did stipulate that it would be okay if he dropped just one position and kept the other position. We only went with 3 pay raises now, that he'd be able to do that.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
so then when he
Yes.
does his budget, he would still leave that one position dropped, correct?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
And he would still become out of it okay. With consideration to the
Right, with-
grants that
right,
he's getting for
and-
new hire.
And he would have the money, if he hires 2 officers, he would have the money in his grant money to cover those costs this year. If they were hired in this fiscal year, if they're hired in next fiscal year, the money for the regular salary for the officers would be submitted into the budget. And then he has $75,000 supplement those, which is plenty of money to cover the whatever $4 raise or however that works. He said they don't get it right away, but you know, again, go ahead.
I think probation, police officer is a year. They're on probation for a year. so
And then they
can't-
get
don't
their
pay
5%, correct, and they get an automatic 5%. And then they get the 2%, and then they get the 3%, and then every 3 years they get another 5%.
Can I ask,
Those are already set up.
Yes, Counselor.
is that for everybody right now? Is that for all the police
Yes,
officers
that is correct.
right now?
That's for every employee in the city.
Okay,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
But
All right.
the issue, Mary, is the grant money, I can't, if I give the new hires $4 an hour, that's not using the grant money, it's not in perpetuity. That's the issue.
I understand that, so that's something the council has to think about.
Right, so I don't want to give somebody a $4 an hour pay raise and then next year have them take it away because we don't have the money.
Well, they have to figure that out. They have to figure out what the future brings and what the cost will be.
See,
That's all part of doing the budget, is
that's why I'm
forecasting.
trying to just make it easy. This is the easiest way. I drop the 2 positions. I
okay.
get everybody. the pay
Deputy?
raises are all 8
Deputy?
positions,
Deputy,
plus my civilians.
this is not my call, this is the council's call, and they have directed you to do.
That's why I'm suggesting that splitting it up and doing all this is the easiest way to do it in perpetuity, meaning we do it this one time, everybody's covered forever down the road. Everybody. is
Okay,
Covered forever, instead of me coming back in a couple of months at budget, and then next year at budget, and then next year at budget, and things of that nature.
are we, yes, sir?
Okay, your grant, first year 75,000, second year 50,000, third year 30,000, that's 155,000.
No, 150 is the first year,
150,
75 is the second year,
okay,
and 32,500 is the third year. All right, and that 150, I have to, like, if I hired 1 or 2 people this year, that 150 goes to whoever I hire this year, whatever's, if there's any left over, say there is some left over come July 1 or June 30, that goes away, the state takes it back.
okay. My question on that is, we're gonna pay them, say, the minimum wage starting out. Police officers,
Right.
say 25,000 just for grins, okay?
Okay,
To bump him up at the end of that year to where he's supposed to be, you've got $230,000. And then the next year, he's gonna be up there, he's gonna get his second year raise. Okay, that's gonna keep him there. And
no,
then
we don't have 230, we don't, like I said, the grant money.
150,000,
At the end of this fiscal year, that 150,000, whether we use it or not,
okay?
goes away. It's gone.
So then that leaves you with 75
The next year,
and 50.
75 the next year, and 32,500 the following
All
year.
right, that leaves you $105,000. So that's split up between, say, 2 police officers for the whole year.
Mhm.
And that's gonna keep him
But that can only be used on new hires.
On new hire.
a new hire.
Meaning if I hire somebody new next fiscal year, I can't, like, say I hired somebody today, hypothetically. I can use that 150 for them this year or this fiscal year. Next fiscal year, I can't, that 75,000, this guy here that I just hired in the previous, he can't use it.
So, yeah, okay,
It
I got
can
you.
only be a new hire.
Counselor Lacewell, what you got?
Thank you, sir. On this 150,000 that you have right now, can you use that as, I'm gonna hire you at this amount, but I'm giving you this incentive money to come on this year and not use it up that way?
Okay. No, because that's considered a bonus, which is illegal by the DFA standards.
Bonuses.
So, but we have 3 positions open. And if you hired 3 people by 150,000,
It wouldn't cover, 150 covers about 1.25 police officers. 1.25.
Because if you look at what
So what you're saying, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
what you're saying is that 150 is, the city doesn't pay him that. The grant money for new hires, what you're getting paid.
The city is our, the city would pay him, but because the state has already paid the city the grant. So that 150,000 is sitting in a line, a budget line, ready to be distributed in case we hire
A
someone.
portion of that will be pulled out to bring him up to a little bit higher level than what it would be as a new hire, correct?
You could.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. If we're paying them 25 and you take and split it, say, between 2 new hires,
Right.
they're, that first year, they're gonna be, you could.
See, 22, a new hire uncertified, meaning they have to go to the police academy. They start out at 2206 per hour.
Okay,
Once they become certified, they make 2406 per hour. That's our base rate. Once they become certified, we're wanting to increase that to 2806 per hour once they become certified after they get off probation. See what I'm saying?
right, I
So,
understand that.
So that's how we're trying to bump this. So at some point after he gets off his probation year, that's incentive for him to stay because he's gonna be getting paid 2806 per hour. And potentially,
Once that year's up, then the grant's gone too.
and once June 30th of every year, that grant's gone. So in June,
Okay.
in 3 months from now, that 150,000 is gone.
Okay.
A year and 3 months from now, 75,000 is gone. You know, depending on whether we use it or not. That's.
Mary, are you trying to add something to?
I wanted to I just wanted to respond that he wants to knock up the base rate to $28. And then when they're over to probation, in 1 year, they get a 5% raise on top of that.
Mhm.
And then again, it goes a year later is 2%, and then a year later is 3%. And then every 3 years after, they get another 5%. There's also money in the budget for incentives. So if they have any kind of diploma or training, it's incentivized pay, so they get more added to their salary.
Mhm.
That's what I was trying to say.
Mhm.
And he is correct on the grant money. If he doesn't use $150,000 to recruit, if he doesn't hire anybody by June 30th, the state will require us to revert the money back, which we will pay them back the 150 or whatever we did not spend for recruitment or new hire. And then next year, if you started them, like you said, at 22 and they get certified, they're 24, the $75,000 that's for recruitment could be used to bump them up to that $28 he is discussing with you right now. Realizing those actions, of course, they continue on. It's not one and done. But then also you have to remember the 3%, the 5%, and then every 3 years after 5%.
So, counselors, if we could summarize, Counselor Proctor and Deputy Chief, if we could summarize a statement with no objections from the other counselors, can we go within a summary statement and get it on the next council meeting, or do you have this down? We can be sure you have it down.
They can do it, two ways. The first one is just put it under consent agenda, and consent agenda is approved as a whole with verbiage that you're gonna be using. The second option is to put it under unfinished business and revisit it again.
I go for unfinished business.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
And
No
it's
problem.
The suggestion
problem.
from, to go ahead and pay the $4 for 3
It
officers.
stays the same under unfinished business.
Okay.
Like I said,
I'm gonna put it
you all
on the
have-
agenda and vote on it the next meeting
Yeah.
for $4 for the 3 police officers. And then we look at the rest of the department. In the new fiscal year,
And look at our budget.
on our budget, get our
Yeah,
budget.
cause I mean,
DC?
we need to prove how
Yes,
much
sir.
money we got.
Are you, I get the feeling this is not okay with you.
It's not.
Okay,
It's
so
not okay. with me. I think everybody deserves a pay raise. It's the easiest and the most cost effective, the way I'm presenting it at this point in time. And again, it's y'all's prerogative to change it, and I'm not gonna say. To say that you're just gonna give, 3 of my officers, their pay raise and then everybody else is out. To me, that sends a wrong message, when I've been talking to them for months and months and months, trying to get them a pay raise.
What we've been talking about is cops.
Mhm.
I'm
He and I are
not,
cops.
huh?
He and I are cops.
Yeah,
I
but
understand.
the
No.
retention of our police
The
officers.
retention of our cops, not retention of the secretaries or whoever else y'all use. We're just trying to help y'all with the cops. And like I said, there's 2,800 people in this town. They can't afford $1.5 million budget every year.
I'm not saying they can't. I'm just presenting
No, I understand, and I understand you want to get everybody a raise, shit, I'd like to give everybody that works for me a raise, but if the money's not there, it's just not there.
exactly.
I'm not trying to be a worm about this or nothing. I'm just saying, if we can help you with the cops, that's halfway, DC.
Right.
We can get.
Like I said, I'll accept that.
And then we can see what else, down the road. If there happens to jump up, somebody hits a lottery and gives it to us, then we can work on the other half, But I'm just trying to go halfway with y'all, with the keeping of the law enforcement officers.
Right. Okay.
Counselor Lacewell?
DC, would you consider instead of $4 for 3 officers and 3 for everybody else? Would you consider $3 for the police officers and 2 for everybody else until we get into the new budget year?
Yes,
And would that eliminate 1 police officer position? I'm
guessing it would still do a position and a half, but that's math beyond my comprehension. That'd probably be Mary or Donna.
Yeah, that's.
Mary or Donna would have to figure out the numbers on that one. If it's 145, if you're taking away, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 7, basically taking away 11 total percents for all my, let's see, 12, actually, 12%. You'd be taking 12% away total. 1% for each police officer, each of my current 8 positions, plus each 1% for each of my 4 civilian positions that I have, whether they're filled or unfilled. That's 12%. I don't know what's, let me.
You're talking about an increase though, right? I'm not sure. Talking about increase.
Let me see here.
Councilor Proctor.
145. If I'm doing the math right, I doubt I'm doing it right.
Who else is getting raises this year?
I got a better idea.
Counselor, DC,
Yes, sir.
just hold on just a second. Counselor
You know,
Parker.
Percentage and stuff like that. We're not talking percentage right now. We're talking about a flat dollar rate.
Oh, yeah, you're
If you,
right.
all right, if you go $5 for your police officers and $2 for the rest of you people.
Wait,
Damn, you got
No. No,
it's 4 now. It's already at 4 and you're saying 5?
take $1 from each one of the other ones. $1 him, $1 the other 2. That puts a,
But I have to go for 8, because you have to count all my positions, not just the ones that are manned right now. You have to figure it for every position. That's the issue. So you're take it away basically from 4 to give to 8.
I think we stick with the police that's what we're losing is police officers, okay?
Yes.
And my feeling on this, we're losing police officers, not secretaries, not a deputy chief, not a chief. No insult to either one of you, okay? I respect what you do and I respect what a police officer do for what little they get. I ran to give the police officer a raise and that's what I want to do. So I moved my position on this is to give the police officers the $4 an hour raise now. The new budget year, then he can budget for for his other 2 civilians and the chief of police and himself.
So that, like I said, I just have to figure the math, but I think we'd only have to drop 1 police officer position at that point. Versus the CS and keep the second CSO position is my guess, math wise. I'd have to have Donna do some math for me, but, to do, $4 an hour raise for my sergeant, my 2 officers that I have employed now, plus the 2 vacant officers would work.
Oh, okay, Counselor Faber.
Okay, you know the money that we've got coming in 25.
What's that?
That money that we've got coming in 25. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The big check.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, is any of that money gonna be able to be used?
no, because that's cap out money. It's gotta be equipment.
Just equipment?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
verbiage or under consent agenda or unfinished business, does
Unfinished business.
everybody agree?
I'm fine with that.
I agree unfinished business and right, and if we have a line item drop, then we can do a line item drop.
Yeah.
Was it ever on the agenda? Wouldn't it be new business?
No, because you discussed.
Because we discussed it.
Oh, and, I don't know.
And if we approve it now, she puts it on the agenda for next week, or for the next meeting.
Like the other 2 items, you all agree on them, so they go under consent agenda just for vote.
Counselors, you all okay with this?
What do we got?
Yeah, I see. This is new for me. I've never been.
Oh,
Thank you.
So
It's working the way it's supposed to work.
yes,
you got it?
yes.
Unfinished?
Huh?
You're then.
Uh-huh.
There, I'll move that we adjourn.
Say again, please.
I move that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
DC, thank you.